And we're off to the races. All right, welcome everybody to yet again another episode of Civil Chat. With me today, as always, is Brian and Brian. So we are going to have some fun today. So lots of old names, old friends, some new names as well. Welcome everybody. If you haven't been to Civil Chat with us before, this is your chance to ask us questions about just about anything. Um, You've got a much better chance of having your questions answered if it has something to do with like the civil engineering programs from Autodesk. But if you want to ask questions about what my shoe feels like, I suppose you could, but there's probably not much of a chance that we're actually going to answer it. But anyways, the way this works is you ask questions, we answer them. If you don't ask questions, we'll just talk about whatever the hell we want to. And but it's your chance to get questions answered. So make sure you answer questions. And when you ask questions, make sure to put them in the Q&A panel and not the chat. The chat is great. If you like making fun of us, if you like my shirt, I love this shirt. Put that stuff in the chat. But if you have questions, make sure you put them in the Q&A panel. I like to, so I didn't even realize this shirt was like a Van Halen thing until after I purchased it. I was like, hey, that's a really cool shirt. I'm going to start wearing that. And I was wearing it. And somebody said, hey, Eddie. And I'm like, what? Oh. So I call this my Franken shirt now.
Nice.
But yeah, so we got somebody from Illinois, somebody from, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Auga?
I was right there with
Oh,
you. I read that one going, yeah, I don't even know where that is.
yeah, ooh, that's an interesting one. Might have to look that one up. All right.
I think he
Burkina
said where he's
Faso.
from before, and I think we looked at it as well.
Yeah, I think it's Burkina Faso. Very nice. All right. So I always, while we're waiting for the flood of questions to come in that you all have been thinking about over the last month that you wanted to come in here and ask me about, and I always like to show off something new. So what I thought I would talk about today is double-click actions within AutoCAD. Now, this is an AutoCAD feature, but it works fantastic for Civil 3D. Right? So right now, there are certain objects that, most objects, if you double click on an object, so if I double click on the surface here, you'll notice it brings up just the AutoCAD properties. Well, most people that are using CAD all day long, every day, have their properties, up on the second monitor or anchored somewhere. You don't need to bring up your properties all the time. I would much rather have it do something else. And so some examples, so if I put a piece of text in here, that's a small piece of text. All right, just whatever. All right, if I double click this, it doesn't bring up the properties. What does it do? It brings up the text editor. Same thing, if you double click a block, it'll bring up the block editor. If the block has attributes, it'll bring up the enhanced attribute editor. This one, a lot of people don't know. If you double click a polyline, it brings up the polyline edit command. So double clicking has different commands that get run depending upon the object that you double click. And so what I want is when I double click on this surface, rather than bringing up the AutoCAD properties, I want it to run some other command. And the one that I want it to do is I want it to bring up the surface properties. And the way this is done is by adding a double click action into your CUI. So I just type CUI at the command line. So it's customized user interface, if anybody doesn't know. And in your CUI, you have a double click action. So you can see right here, I've got all these double click actions. So right now, I don't have any double click actions. Now, this is the civil CUI file. And I do not recommend making changes to the civil CUI file because when 28 comes out, it's going to have a new CUI file, and then you have to go in and add all your double click actions again. Instead, what I recommend is creating a partial customization file and adding all of your personal stuff into that partial customization file. So let's see, if I right click on here, I can load a customization file. But for this, I'm just going to go ahead and just edit the base one here. So if I right click on here, I can create a new double click action. And basically the way this works is this is now a command, right? What is this? This will be, I'll just call this surface. So when I double click a surface, what do I want to have happen? All right. Now, this is just something I can drag a command to. So I can take any command from down here and drag it to here, right? So I can come in here and find surface properties. I can take this, and I'll give you a tip. If you've got a lot of stuff, if your list here is long, when you simply drag it up, as soon as you hit the edge of this box, it's going to start scrolling, which is really, really annoying. So a trick to avoid that is when you drag it out here to the side, come up, and then back over. Right? And so now you can see this double click action for surface is set to surface properties. So when I select OK, and I come in here and I double click on the surface, what's going to happen? Yeah, it just brings up the AutoCAD properties. What the hell? Well, just because I named the double click action surface, it didn't know that it was going to be acting on a surface. If I go back in my CUI here, I go double click actions, surface. The object name is what you need to put in here. So you need to figure out what the object, the name of the object is to be able to run something, right? And so I need to find out, well, how do I find this out? Let me just list it. All right, so I'm going to select a surface in my drawing, and I will list it. And as you can see right here, it says AECC 10 surface. I'm just going to take that, copy it, go back into my CUI, double click actions for surface, and I'll just paste that in right there. So that is the object that I want this double click. When I double click this object, I want to run this command. All right, so now when I double click my surface, it brings up my surface properties. Another good one is general notes, right? So if I go over here to annotate and I add in a general note, oops. Right. Most of the time, these general notes need to be edited, right? So how do we do that? Well, you select it, you right click, you edit label text, and then you're here editing the label text. Well, you can do the same thing here. So let me go ahead and list this. This is an AEC general note label. Copy that. CUI. Double click actions. New double click action. I'll call this one general note. Paste the object name in there. Go find my edit. What was the name of that? What is the name of that command? I can't remember the name of the command off the top of my head. Anybody know what that is? Maybe in this? No. Edit label text. There it is. So I'll take
Brian, you
that.
found it. Brian, you found
Yeah.
it. Chuck had typed it in.
Drag that into the general note there. And now when I double click this general note, it brings up the text component editor.
Does that also do it when you've dragged it off and it's in its drag state too?
It should. It's still the same type of object. So when it's in the drag state and I double click it, still get the same thing.
And if that was like, but that would be a different command if it was like, say, a manhole label. That would be a completely different portion. So yeah.
Right. So if I come in here and I double click, let's say, for example, on this alignment label, it just brings up the AutoCAD properties.
Yeah.
Right. If you want it to bring up the, the label, the edit label group, right? So again, I'll go ahead and select this, list it.
Yeah.
Copy that.
Do each one
CUI. Double click actions, new double click action. This will be alignment station. Paste that sucker in. This one is add edit. No. it's something with station. Add edit station labels. That was the one. Drag that in there. Select OK. And now when I double click one of these labels, so I'll just double click this little tick here, it brings up the properties. Brian, shouldn't that brought up the other thing? Well, what happens if I double click this label? It does bring up the alignment labels, right? So what's the difference? Well, this is a major, this is a minor. So if I list this, you'll see this has minor station in the name. So if you're doing this for like alignment and profile labels, you got to figure out all the different types of labels that can be added to that and add those double click commands to all of them.
So while you're in there, Robert asked a question, how does one make the edit label text box have readable text?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, right? Where's my general note? There it is.
Readable text. Use Arial.
Yeah. Well, first of all, don't use
Use
an
TrueType font,
SHX font. That's your first given. The other one is there's a Windows setting called God, I haven't done this in years since we always use Arial. It's the I can't even think of the name of it now. ClearType, thank you. Chuck comes to the.
I was gonna say Chuck put in ClearType.
Yep. So if you come in here and you adjust the ClearType text, so you just go to Windows, type ClearType, adjust ClearType text. Wow, this is different. Just ClearType text, and then turn off ClearType, and then just next, because well, it doesn't matter. We'll turn all of our monitors, sure. And since we turned it off, it doesn't matter which one looks best. And now you can see that's much easier to read. So it's something with the Windows ClearType that causes this issue. But yeah, that's an annoying one. And now it's doing it for all my other monitors. There we go. Voila.
Beautiful. Well, you do have some questions if you want to get into them.
I'm going to do one more thing real quick.
Okay.
Another one that I like to do is feature lines. All right, so if I go create a feature line here. All right, again, double clicking, it just brings up your properties. The one I like to set for my feature lines personally is the quick elevation edit command. I love quick elevation edit.
Oh, yeah.
I talked with some folks in my company and they decided they wanted to use the elevation editor again. So instead, so that's what it's set to for our company. But if it was up to me, just me, I would use the quick elevation edit. And the same thing, you just list the feature line and then add the double click action and it's just quick elevation edit or elevation editor, whichever you prefer.
Now you just need a triple click option so you could have either or.
I think you could do a shift double click, right? Or something like that, maybe?
You don't think so?
I don't know.
It just deselects it twice.
I know that there's like shift M commands and things like that or overrides, but I know that was kind of.
Man, Brian, are you going back to the old digitizer and the puck where the puck could have shift commands on the puck buttons?
Well, to be honest, I'm on ACC so much, and the fact that they're archiving anything that's like Revit 2023 and below, you can't even put them on ACC anymore. I've threatened to go back to Bentley products.
And Chuck did ask, and being that you said you set up your company, I'm assuming this is a yes. Can the customization be added to the enterprise CUI?
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I did. Here, let me come over to 2026. This is where, this is our GEI setup. So if I go into the CUI file here, we actually have it as, so it's not the enterprise CUI, it's a partial customization file that's loaded into the CUI. So we've got our GEI menu here. And in here, I have all these double click actions. So these are the actions that I just put in recently. So if anybody wants to take a screenshot of those. And these all bring up the properties of whatever object it is, except for the profile and alignment labels. That brings up the label editor, the label group stuff. And then the general note brings up the edit label text, and a feature line brings up the elevation editor.
Can you just export out the double click actions of that custom CUI so you could import it in somewhere else?
Not that I'm aware of.
Just curious. It wasn't
You
a
could
question
create
anybody asked. It was just a curiosity for me.
yeah, you could create a double click action CUI file, and the only thing you put in there are your double click actions, I suppose.
Yeah, I do that with my function buttons as well. Like I've got all my function buttons are preset to OSNAPs. So it overwrites like F1, F3, F4, F5, and so on for snaps. And yeah, that can be just loaded separately. So, and that's all that exists in that CUI.
Right. Okay. So that's what I've done recently, and I thought I would share with everybody. So hopefully that will help somebody out somewhere. All right, let's go ahead and get into some questions now.
All right, your first civil 3D specific question. With a 10 surface that contains a depression area for a pond, how can you get the elevation at a specific storage volume from that surface?
So you want to know what the elevation is when the storage volume is a specific volume. Does that sound right, Robert?
To me, it sounded different. Like at 6 inches, what is my storage volume? At a foot, what is my storage volume? No, you're correct.
Correct.
You're
All right.
correct.
Haha. So the easiest way to do that would just be, oh,
Page storage. And make your contours like 10th increment.
yeah. Yeah. So now if we come in here and then stepped offset on this. So let's see, let's set this to an elevation. We'll set it to 100 just cause. And then we'll do a stepped offset on this.
Whoa, 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 you're in Colorado. Be careful.
This data set's not in Colorado.
Okay.
See, we'll go through. I want the bottom of the pond to be about here.
Center of the
We'll go an
pond.
elevation of 85. All right, so super simple pond, right? I need to turn that clear type back on. This is annoying. Give me just a moment, folks. Ah. All right, that's better. So let's see, let's go ahead. Add these as break lines. Bada bing, bada boom. We have a nice surface here. So there is a tool for, where's that? It's under the Analyze tab, I believe.
Yep. In the design pull down.
And then under the design pull down, there we go. Stage storage. All right, so this gives you the ability to create a stage storage calculation. Basically, it's just does it do an average end area or does it do the conic method? I can't remember. I think it does
You get
both.
to choose. You get to choose,
Yeah.
but I think it defaults to average.
It defaults to both, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that.
If I haven't played around with this in years, but I believe at least in older versions, you had to put something in for these, or sometimes it wouldn't work. Or the report title, the project name, the basin description. So I'm just gonna throw something in
Yeah, I'll
there.
be honest, I've never had to in the past. And then also, even before I'll extract the feature, I'll extract the contours first so that way I don't leave it up to program, but I believe you can do it through here as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to define basin from entity. So I'll choose define basin. Right. I'm going to define the basin from surface contours. Now, as Brian had said, if you extract your contours, you could define the basins from polylines.
Yep.
Right. And if you haven't defined them, if you haven't extracted them, this will allow you to extract them right away.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it'll allow you to change the selected entities to the following layer, and it'll put whatever you want in front of the layer for the polylines that it extracted. And then you can have it delete the unselected entities on selected layers. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this, right? So I'm going to choose extract objects from surface. I'll go ahead and select the surface. So that just extracted all those contours. Then I'll choose define. And I'm just going to choose these here because I don't want to go all the way up to the top. All right. And it shows all this wonderful content down here. And then you can take this, put it into Excel, do a calculation to find out at this particular volume I need, it's going to be at this elevation. There's nothing really automated in Civil 3D, at least not that I'm aware of. But I do want to show you this here real quick. So you can then load the table, you can save that, you can create a report, or you can insert it. So if I choose insert, it'll actually insert it into the drawing for me. All right, this is just an AutoCAD table. It's not dynamic in any way, shape, or form, but the data's there. And the other thing I want you to notice is, remember I toggled on that option to delete the unselected objects, like that one and that one? It didn't delete them. So that didn't work. Oh, and remember when I said it's going to put the prefix on the layer name? It just used the prefix. It didn't actually use it as a prefix. So it's not
Funny, it did
quite
exactly what you asked it to do.
right. But so that's one way of, oh, I don't want to delete that. Let me just get rid of you. There we go. All right. So this is how you can go about doing that, Robert. The other thing you could do is, if you really wanted to, you could create like a level surface and then do a volume comparison between the volume, your pond, and the level surface, and then move that up and down until you till you get to a specific volume that you need, and then find out what the elevation of that is. But I think this might be a little bit easier.
Yeah, we'll use both, but for the stage storage to show the freeboard and everything like that, that's one of the easier ways to do. So that way you can go all the way to the top of the pond and see what it is with various freeboard.
Right. So hopefully that answered your question, Robert. Sort of. Do you want to come off mute and ask a little bit better? You can do that if you like. Do I have to do that for you?
I just did it.
Ah, cool. Thank you. So if you'd like to, yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, my users, we have a, like I said, the existing tin surface with a depression area for a pond that's way larger than what they need. And they wanted to know at 2 acre feet, what was the elevation going to be? So I'm kind of curious about Max's comment there, make a pond from the surface and then use that pond for volumes.
I wonder if there's something in the new pond tools. So let's see, let's go to pond, create pond from surface. Let's choose contour. So that's the top of the pond there. Okay. So we have a pond. It's gotta be over here somewhere. Stormwater controls, ponds, properties. Is there anything? Storage. So we've got a chart over here. Can we make this bigger? There we go. So this actually is a lot easier. Wow. So, and then you can come over here and say, okay, at, this. So we've got volume, we got storage area. Unfortunately, it doesn't let us go across the volume, but it's the same concept though. It's not going to give you, the elevation at a specific volume. You'll just have to do a, interpolation between two different elevations or between the two different volumes. And then it'll tell you what the elevation is between them.
Yeah, very much. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and then there's a couple of comments in the chat about user-defined contours. So let's say that the elevation ends up being, what's the bottom of this? I say 85 right? Let's say that the volume needs to be 91.73, right? You can go into your surface properties, go to the analysis, and do a user-defined contour analysis. We're just going to do one elevation and then set that to whatever you want it to be, 91.73. I can type. There we go. And now we have a contour at 91.73. Now we don't see it right now because this particular surface style, so if I go edit the surface style here, and you shouldn't do this, you should just go copy the style and create a new one or choose the correct style, right? User-defined contours is turned off, so I will turn that on. It's going to be orange. And there is that 91.73 contour. So that would be the elevation at that particular volume.
That seems like all the follow-ups.
So cool.
All right, so then Alex asks, can you go over the process for getting a civil 3D surface into Revit to show Toposolids in Revit?
Yeah, for sure. So actually I was just gonna test that on a drawing that I had. Do I still have that open? I don't. Because somebody came to me and said, hey, we're having issues with this particular surface, bringing it into Revit. So I was going to test it, but then this came up. And so let's go ahead and try it here. Come on, finish opening, please. There we go. All right, so it's a fairly large surface. That might be what their problem is. Let's check out the statistics on this thing. Statistics, 577,680 triangles. That's not too much for Revit, is it, Brian?
Mm,
No.
it's not going to be too much. It's definitely going to
Okay.
slow it down a little bit, but it's
Let
not
me
going
see,
to be
Right.
much.
multiply that by 3, and that's how many points you'll have, right?
I guess we can look at how many points we. Oh, why am I select? I can just double click this. All right. Oh, there must have been a polyline over there. All right. 424,000 points. All right. So basically what I'm going to do is, first thing I need to do is I need to save this up to the Forma. And I'll just save it here. And I'm just going to call this bathy. For those that may not know, bathy is short for bathymetric. This is the terrain underneath a reservoir. All right, so this is part of the project. So then we'll go to, is it output? Publish surfaces. So this is done through Forma, formerly known as AC, Autodesk Construction Cloud. All right, select the output file. I'll go ahead and browse for that. So I'll just call it, throw it in here, same place I put the other one. And you'll notice it adds this dot shared onto it. I'll go ahead and save that. And one of the things that it will do, it won't in this case because it's already done that way, is it will change the display so it displays triangles. I don't know why it does that. So if you get a message saying, hey, the style needs to display triangles, just hit OK. And then you should be good to go here. So let me go ahead and, do I even have Revit installed anymore? I got 26. We'll go on with that. And Mackie, you might need to help me with a little bit with this part.
Yep, I assumed. So the nice part about this is you are doing this on Forma, but that does mean the project has to be on Forma to do this step.
Right.
If it's you guys are just if you guys are just sharing files back and forth, you're downloading them, you are not on the Autodesk cloud service, then yeah, you're just going to have to export that triangulated surface. And I do want to say that that's the big thing because Revit will do much better getting a tin surface than contour lines. And the reason why Brian and I always like to explain this is you guys are generating contour lines off of points. Revit's taking those contour lines, regenerating its version of where the point should be, then creating its topo solid from those points. So it's an interpretation of an interpretation, right? It's kind of like if somebody were to take something you were doing and translate it from English to German to Spanish back to English, there's going to be some stuff lost in the translation. That is absolutely going to happen. So if you can give your Revit people a 10 surface, that is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah. So I'm just going to save this Revit model in that same location. And then let's see, there's the doghouse thing. There it is. So I'm looking at the model here. And then in here, is it under insert?
It's under massing and site. 3D right,
Thank you.
topo solid.
Create from import.
Actually, sorry. No, you're right. It's under insert because you're linking this. I was doing it the other
Yeah.
one. My brain was still in the previous one. Link topography, it's the fifth button from the left.
There it is, link topography. It's the one that looks like a contour map, duh.
Sometimes they get their icons good.
All right, and then I'll choose that surface and link it in. And assuming that my users were just making a mistake somewhere and doing this wrong, it should come in here.
Yes, but you are not going to see it currently in the view because you guys are in Civil 3D where you're 0, 0 in Revit or your 0, 0 in AutoCAD is the Revit's origin, so you're going to be 600 miles away.
Yeah, I should have done the shared reference point first time.
It's fine.
But that's the process.
No.
Number of mesh triangles exceeds the maximum limit.
And okay, it's going to simplify it. Yeah, I was wondering how many. I don't remember what the limit is on the triangles. And where this really works, like I said, if you guys are all in the same Forma project, if you're, not working in Forma as the civil engineers, you can still be invited to the project and only put this up there. That's kind of one of the things you can do. The other thing is usually you're going to get your architects or whoever asking for your DWGs as well. And the big thing I always like to tell people is make sure you export to AutoCAD. Don't just put up your Civil 3D file because there's all your Civil 3D tools that Revit just does not understand what they are. And it will freak out. We will miss things. And people are always like, well, you're not displaying it properly. It's like, no, civil engineer did not export to AutoCAD so Revit can understand that.
Yeah, and only give the Revit users what they need for their model. Right. So if they just need like the site layout showing where the parking lot's going to be, create a drawing that has just that in it and then send that to them. But,
yeah, I got one yesterday where there were like 6,000 points, which I could see in AutoCAD, but once I brought those into Revit, I couldn't see those because those were AEC, those were your Civil 3D Cogo points. Revit doesn't see those.
Yep.
So in AutoCAD, I can see all this cool stuff. I brought in Revit. I'm like, well, that's good. I didn't want to see all those anyway because it was from a surveyor. It was like the edges of every parking stripe, everything. I'm like, cool. I did not need to see those 6,000 things. I'm glad they did not come in. But again, those Cogo points, Revit will not recognize. Hence the export to AutoCAD.
Yeah, I should have done this with a much smaller surface, but this is the idea. And then once it's in here, it is a topo surface.
Topo solid.
Topo solid, sorry.
Topo surface is Revit 25 and older.
Right.
25 and 26 and 27, they're topo solids.
Okay. And the last time I did this, you couldn't edit the topo solid in Revit.
Correct.
So if you created your own topo solid in Revit, you could then go edit, like cut out a hole for a building. But if you're doing the imported one, you can't do that. Is that still the same case, Brian?
I believe you can still cut the things out of it with the tools, but you can't go edit it. So Revit is always notorious for you bring in a surface and all of a sudden I got these crazy mountainous spikes because it interpreted something wrong. If it's something I just imported, I could go delete those points. But no, if it's linked in, those points just stay. So that is kind of one of those things as well.
Hey, Brian, you see the chat? You should do one of these for
I did.
Revit.
I was just going to say, Robert, right after this, and I will post the link in there. Right after this, we do Revit Radio. Well, Brian ditches me because have actual Revit people who help me too. But Brian ditches me, but we do have Revit Radio, where you can ask all your Revit questions. So I will put that in the chat here in a second.
Is that like Radio for Europe?
Radio for Europe. Well, for those of us who are old and listen to a lot of NPR, originally when I set this up 20 years ago with Stan, one of Brian and I's former coworkers, we actually would go in and we based it kind of like off of car talk. It's not professional. We're totally out, just out there, and that's just kind of what we do.
Yep. But we record these now, so we got to be a little bit more even keeled.
No, I'm still not even keel.
Yeah, okay.
I even keel on civil chat. It's civil, not on Revit Radio.
All right, well, this is continuing to work, but that's the idea. Hopefully y'all get it. Let's move on to something else here.
And then the only other thing with that said is when you re-export out your tin surface like that again, and then it's put on Forma, Revit will see that next time somebody opens Forma, or excuse me, opens Revit, it will see that changed and it will update it in the Revit interface. A lot of the architects, again, not necessarily liking that because if it does update, it can freak out any holes or anything like that they had put in there. So,
right. But it is a link, so it makes sense that it would update.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. I just always like to point that.
Good call. All right, what do we got next?
Okay, Robert asks, with a pressure pipe run that is lowered and raised to go under a crossing object in a straight line, how does one convert the pipe run to a lowering that come back up with 2 rolled 45s to form a 90-degree turn? He attempted to diagram it in the question.
Yeah. I was looking at it like, what is that? Okay.
I thought he pasted an image in, but I'm realizing that Robert actually went in and did like colon, tab, 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 colon. Good job, Robert. I like it.
All right. So pressure pipes. So let me create a network here real quick. Pipe network, pressure network creation tools, reference surface. We'll use the proposed ground in this drawing. 3 feet of cover, sure. And I'll just throw something in here real quick. All right, so this is not a very good drawing for this. Pressure network parts list. Yeah, we got 11 1/4 degree bends in this drawing. That's it. Okay, we're gonna have to go somewhere else. Let's see. Let's go to ours. Export common. And then I'll bring in a surface real quick. Set working folder. Actually, that should work. I could have double clicked it. It's going to take a while to get used to. Let's see. Let's do survey 2 and 10. Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm just going to come over here, create a quick pressure network. Let's do 8-inch pipe. Reference surface will be that one. Up here, something like this. Interesting. Didn't work. All Add a new pipe run. What did I break? It's not pointing to our catalog. I haven't set 27 up for GEI yet, so that's what's going on here. CAD support. Common. New pressure pipes catalog. Imperial. There we go. Add a pipe run. Let's try this one more time. Still failed. I wish there was a tutorial file that had pressure networks in it, so I don't have to do this every time.
I guess that means you just need, try to get yourself hired on with Autodesk to do that. That's why there's an amazing Revit structure sample project in Snowden Towers for Revit.
Right? Because I was looking for that one. Let's take you to CAD support. What was that? GEI generic water parts. I think I want to choose that. Okay. Now it should work, yes, reluctantly. Hey, look at that. We got stuff. Awesome. All right. So then we will do a pipe run profile. We'll do offsets at bends. We'll do a new profile view, create profile view. And there it is. All right. So there's my pipe. And really, this is just a profile. All right. So if you want to do a lowering, let's say, for example, I had a pipe here that I needed to go under, right? So this is kind of, let's put it a little bit closer. Let's just say it's like right there. And I need to go under this. What I would do is I would just draw in my crossing where I want it to be. And then because this is just a profile, we don't have multifunctions here. I can go into edit profile geometry and then just insert PIs. I want to insert a PI there. I want to insert a PI there, one there, and one there. And why did that update? I should have updated my profile. Oh, and then I have to, where is it? Where is it? It's the overrides. Somewhere in here. Pipe run profile, overrides. So right now what it's doing is it's at each PI, it's calculating the elevation. So what I need to do is I need to come in here and add an override that starts there. And then another one that goes to there. And then this will reference the existing ground. And this will be cut length. Maybe, I don't know. I'm missing something, but this is the idea. that I've done in the past. I haven't done this in quite a while. But I'm missing something. Maybe if we set that to cut length. I'm not even getting the OK option here anymore. I'm doing something wrong. So I change that to cut length. Still think it's something with the overrides. Yeah, as soon as I add an override, oh, because the start station, this needs to end here. This one needs to start there. And I'm still not okay. On that one needs to end there. All right, and then I need to add another one.
Robert says cut length works when the profile is created.
And then this should end at the end. And then this one should be distance. This one should reference the existing ground, and this one should reference nothing. Maybe? Yeah, there we go.
So Robert, hopefully that answers your question.
Right. So basically, let me refresh. So you can add the PVIs in there, and so that edits the profile of the pipe. All right. But the problem is in the pipe run, it was set to offsets at bends, and I didn't have bends. All right. So I changed this to cut length, and then I added some bends in here. And then in the overrides, I set 3 regions. So the first region was before the lowering. The second region was in the location of the lowering, and the third region was after the lowering. Right. And so after the lowering, it was set to 3 foot of fill, and it should have been 3 foot or 3 foot of bury depth before and after. And in the middle, we changed that to, instead of referencing existing, just to be none. So it'll just use whatever elevations I put on the PIs. And there's our lowering. So. Did that answer the question, Robert?
No, he says he makes the parts that come up a pair of 45 bends, so it forms a 90. So we need to do 2 45s to do a 90.
Yeah, so there's a 45 there and a 45 there. So we come over, up, and over. Are you saying you want to go up vertically 90 degrees?
Rolled out of plane.
In other words, he wants to rotate one of the 45 so that way it comes out at an angle, an obtuse angle like 36.5 to go to another 45 that's not linearly in the horizontal plane. I can see it in my brain. So what he's doing is he's rolling one of the fittings so that way it's parallel and perpendicular with your alignment.
So I can't see myself, but assuming these pipes are the bends. So this is, here, you don't want it to come straight up. You want it to roll down this way.
Correct.
So you still want this to be a 45-degree bend, but you want it rolled that way.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
The short answer is no.
No, you should be able to do it. You would just
you've got to go into almost 3D view and then rotate it manually. And it's a pain in the butt. And then sometimes it'll actually make it jog. We've alerted to Autodesk to this, especially like T's. So whenever you're coming up to a T and you want to T into a line, you don't want to do a 45 coming up, then a 45 to go straight into the line. You actually want to rotate your T down 45 so you can come into it at a 45.
Right.
Use a $1,500 fitting. So, yeah.
Yeah. But I have seen T or bends that have rolled. So if you have a horizontal 45-degree bend or whatever the angle happens to be, and you put a PVI there in your profile, it should come up at that angle. But you have to make sure that you've got a PI, a point of intersection in your plan at that location. And then if you come up at a different angle, different elevations, it should roll that fitting for you. Now, a T, I don't think it will do that, but the elbows should. But it's something that's tricky. for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. All modeling programs like that, like even structural programs where I've got a rebar, I've got to have a foot length, but it doesn't fit, so I want to rotate it in plan. But the program's like, no, I want to be perpendicular to the object. And yeah, a lot of programs have issues trying to figure that out.
Yeah, so if I just, let's see, let's get
And
in here
Robert
where I
said
can
he
actually
had
see
some
the fitting.
PBIs in there, but Civil 3D was not adding the 45-degree bends.
So if I just, there we go. Why is it not letting me add it? I'm having some serious issues here. Let's see if I come in here. Can I just copy this? Okay, it's kind of hard to see here, but if I go into a 3D view here, let's move this over here. When I select my fitting, you'll see there's a little circular grip here, and there's a circular grip here. That allows you to rotate the fitting around that axis. So you can come in here and rotate that fitting to whatever you want it to be, and then you can draw a pipe off the end of that. Let's change the visual style. Oh, that was useless.
That did not work. Robert's
Robert's
like, oh, that's what he was missing, that little grip.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, so you can rotate that around and you get that at both ends. I wonder if a T has that too. But apparently I can't put any T's in this particular drawing. But so hopefully that helps, Robert. That might have been what you're missing. And then this compass snapping, if you turn that off, you might be able to, no, it still does the snapping there. You can, there's a place where you can change how often it snaps, and I can't seem to find that right now.
You could also
Yeah, so
type that angle in too.
You can rotate that around. So, all right. What else we got, Brian?
All right,
Got
Sean
5 minutes
asked
left.
Sean has a question. Please show how we can eliminate the default drawing number 1 when we launch Civil 3D.
Do you remember how to do that, Brian?
Say that again.
So when you launch CAD, it creates drawing 1. It's something with startup.
I don't know. I don't really utilize that. I think I don't know if it's in the startup or if you actually go into your options and for new or Q new,
So
and you can
it's
set it to a specific template.
Yeah, you can set it to a specific template for sure. But if you
Yeah.
don't want a drawing and you're just like, I just want to go to an existing drawing and not have drawing 1, it's the startup system variable. So right now it's set to 3. The startup tab is displayed and the ribbon is preloaded when you open or create a new drawing.
Well, Jason had put in there, he thought it was start mode, not startup.
Start mode.
Then he deleted it.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
that's
know.
the
Let's
start-
go ask AI.
That's the start tab.
That's the Autodesk. Where'd you go?
It's up in the, oh, you turned it on and now it's somewhere.
Yeah, my cat is frozen. Maybe AI didn't want to come out and play.
All right, well, that one's while you're trying to get your AI to come up. Here's one we can all answer that doesn't need you to be in Revit. Startup equals 2 is what Dennis says.
Startup. Okay.
So the one is here on, has anyone using the scheduled updates with the Autodesk Access app? Oh, you got it to come up. There you go.
Has anyone been using the
I was just trying to buy time while you were waiting for your
Yeah.
AutoCAD, your Civil 3D done.
Well, yeah, that was 27. It's still frozen.
Oh, okay.
So this is 26. So I just switched over here.
Do you have the
So,
Autodesk Assistant in 26 as well?
say again?
Do you have the Autodesk AI Assistant in 26 as well?
Well, yeah, but you have the Autodesk Assistant, but it's not AI.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, it is AI, but they've made some changes in 27. So,
Got it.
well, let's ask it. I set up CAD so that it doesn't create drawing one when I launch. See if it can answer that one.
Well, you can just have it set so it goes to the start menu, right? And that's where you can, because that's what we have ours as. We just kind of remove it from our, we put in none for the Q new. So that way when it starts up, it starts off with just the start menu only.
All right.
Not very elegant.
So, so for folks that don't know, if you're like going into a system variable and you don't know what the values can be, when it's asking you to input a number, if you hit F1, it'll bring you to the help for that particular system variable. Yeah, so looks like if you set it to 1, so if I set this to 2, the only problem is this might be set in our Lisp, our ACAD doc.lisp, but I might set it back to 3 for me. And then I go launch it again.
Okay, well, that's launching. Oh, no, you're pretty quick. Revit takes forever to open.
Yeah, there you go. Startup, set it to 2.
Cool.
Wow, you got a lot of recents, don't you?
Yeah.
You guys ever run in? Do you guys got multiple offices throughout the United States?
Oh, yeah.
And do you work? I mean, because our company, we work out of multiple offices. So a person may go to an office that's on the other side of the United States. And with all the recents, AutoCAD's actually got to do a search for those things. So I'm telling our people, if you want your AutoCAD to launch faster, you can reduce the number of recents. So that way it doesn't have to do all that searching.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing you can do is you can pin them. So if you notice, I've pinned this one here.
Yep.
So if you hit the little pin symbol, it'll always stay on your recents in the top left. So for those ones that you're always going back to, you can pin them. That's really handy too.
The reason I say that is because I think AutoCAD defaults to 50.
No, no system variable for recent.
The next question, since we're at the bottom of the hour, get this, we missed a few, but has anyone been using the scheduled updates with Autodesk Access app? I didn't even know you could schedule updates with that. But then Chris
didn't either.
responded in the chat and said, yes, he was on the beta and they're about to roll it out firm-wide. My question is, I go to my Autodesk Access and it doesn't give me a thing to do scheduled updates. So I don't even know how they're doing that.
You may have to have specific permissions. I would highly recommend against it, only because how many times have they pushed something out that corrupted? I'll use Desktop Connector as an example.
They don't do that.
No, they're making it sound like there's a feature in there I didn't know that was in there that you could tell it to schedule it for everybody or something. And I'm like, I'm the full admin access is me and Desiree, so
Yeah,
I don't see that in my access.
Yeah, I think you got
Yeah,
it.
it's not something I'm aware of. So I did see one from Quinn that I think is an easy one to answer. What are your thoughts on the feature line styles? Are they needed? My personal opinion, no, they're not needed at all. At least not for feature lines that you're working on in your drawing, right? I don't have to have styles for my polylines. I just use layers to control how they're displayed. And so I do the same thing with my feature lines when I'm doing like grading and stuff. Now, if they're in a corridor, I can see having styles for feature lines in a corridor, but if you're just doing grading in a drawing, then I would say no, you don't.
I would highly recommend not just styles for corridors, because I'm doing massive corridoring right now. What's really, really important is naming your feature lines properly. So that way, when you look at targets, you know what you're looking at, not just
Yeah.
feature line 001-418 semicolon such and such. So yeah, that, and also sites. Sites are muy importante if you're trying to keep things away from each other. Yeah, we'll if for example we're doing sidewalks, we're doing shoulders, we're doing berms, and each one of them has their own site, so that way you can use it as targeting. Just makes things a lot easier when you have to go back and figure out what you did.
Right. Maybe next month I'll do my site overview again. I haven't done that in a while.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's always good to review that. So, well, we are past the hour, so thank you everybody for showing up. We do appreciate your spending some time with us.
And if we didn't get to your question, save it for next month. And
Yeah,
that
for
can be
sure.
the
Come
first
back next
question you
month.
pop in, and that way we won't have to wait so long at the beginning.
So I will be posting this up on my YouTube channel if you want to come back and listen to my sultry voice some more. You feel welcome to. I did get class chosen for Autodesk University this year, so I will be attending AU. So if you're going to be there, come join us, and we will see you there. And with that being said, thank you everybody, and have a fantastic day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.